Hey team, I want to cover off a fairly controversial topic today, and that's about theft by an employee. And look, unfortunately, this is something that I've seen a few times in my career, and I'm starting to see a bit more frequency in it than I did before. So I want to talk about what you should do if you are a victim of employee theft. And I think the first thing to do is to make sure you have all the information. Most cases that I see, the theft is discovered before the employee knows that it has been discovered. So there's an opportunity to go in and stealthily get some information before it is at risk of being deleted or removed. So you want to make sure that you have the information to be able to build a case whichever way you go in the future. The other thing you need to do quite quickly is to secure the position so the theft can't continue. So whilst you're gathering all that information, you don't want to be a victim of future theft. So it's really important that you secure the point of risk to make sure that doesn't happen again. Make sure that the data that you're collecting is protected and is not going to be deleted or vulnerable in any way, because you're probably going to need that. And if you speak to a lawyer, it's going to be one of the first things they ask for. They're going to want receipts, they're going to want emails, they're going to want a transaction summary, and browser history, whatever is going to be relevant to proving the offence. And then, I suppose, once you've done that, there's a pathway, right? So it's either a minor theft or a major theft, and it's going to be different depending which way you go. I mean, if it's minor, you might want to consider it as an employment issue and just getting rid of them as an employee, and then of course there's processes that need to be followed if you go down that path, but for minor things, that's probably going to be the limit of the investment in dealing with that issue. If it's major, I think it's useful to talk about a case that I was involved in a few years ago, where it was an employee who held a position of trust and had used that position to effectively steal money over a number of years, and it was quite a large six-figure sum. This was a small business, so the amount of money that was stolen had a large impact on that business and business owner, and it also had tax implications in an audit that ultimately followed, and that created other obligations for the business owner as well. So in that case, we worked really quickly to, one, ensure that the theft couldn't continue. Two, we made no mention of knowledge to the employee whilst we gathered all the information, which a large volume of it was in their control. So we needed to get that whilst they still felt safe and secure about their dishonesty. Once we had that, we went to the High Court. We got a freezing order over his bank accounts to ensure that he couldn't move money. We got a freezing order over his property. We're talking about a house, we're talking about vehicles, anything tangible that we could sell, we froze. And we froze all these assets and bank accounts pending us being able to prove the claim substantively at a later date. But one thing that we know is that for someone like that, once they get caught, they may move assets, they may move money out of their bank account, and ultimately the goal is to get paid. So we wanted to lock that down very quickly. Once you've frozen bank accounts, once you've frozen property, you're in a great negotiating position, and in this case ultimately we used that negotiating position to resolve the issue, and we ultimately got our client paid out in full for their losses. That's a good success story, but we've seen others where the money has been embezzled and then used on a vice. And one thing that seems to be fairly common from people who are stealing money from a business is they may have gambling or alcohol or drug problems or other vices that the money goes into. In this particular case, we were very fortunate that the money all went into assets that we could then retrieve from, and in the case of the property, it had actually gone up in value, and so we're able to leverage that as well. And of course, the last thing that I just want to cover off is the potential to report to police or the SFO if appropriate, if it's a serious fraud. But one thing that I'm mindful of is once you start pushing down those channels, they're channels that you can't control. Whereas the strategy that we rolled out, we have full control over recovery of the money, which is the ultimate goal. Punishment is secondary to that. So look, if you have suffered from employee theft, or someone that has, or it comes up, listen to this broad advice, but don't substitute it for actual situational advice, because every situation is different. Look, we offer a free 30-minute legal consult, so if you want to have a chat, book a time, we can go through the issues and the strategy to resolve that. Cheers.